Good morning, my name is Rachael. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the Australian, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this country and pay my respects to the traditional owners and elders, past and present, of the land on which we stand today. The Turrbal people from Brisbane, where I live and work now, the Djabugay, Yirrijandji and Gimuy Yidinji people from Cairns, where I grew up and connected with for my first 25 years. On behalf of the traditional custodians, Turrbal's people, I welcome you. I will be discussing and analysing Australia's history of Indigenous land rights and how this event has affected the lives of Indigenous Australians, and how this event has also changed and impacted historical and cultural knowledge for teaching and learning within Australia. Most of us will already know and have a strong understanding of the history of Australian Indigenous land rights just through the learnings of this subject we are currently taking. To clarify for those in the audience who are watching publicly from this video uploaded to YouTube, the land rights for Australian and Torres Strait Islander people refers to the ongoing struggle to gain legal and moral recognition of ownership of lands and waters they called home prior to colonisation in Australia in 1788. The Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies 2015 states the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's laws and customs and ways of knowing and being in the world are intimately connected to the land and waters. Connection to land is therefore essential to the continued cultural survival of Indigenous Australians, as well as their economic and social development. Today, I will analyse how the historical events of land rights dating back to 1788 to the present has affected the lives of Indigenous Australians from multiple perspectives. I will also discuss and reflect upon the importance of land rights histories has had for teachers to understand this event and how this also impacts upon our pedagogy. To begin, I want everyone to know that the land rights movement didn't begin until 1963, when the first petition was put forth to the Parliament by the Yirrijandji people from Rachael land protesting to have their land back. So between 1788 and 1963, 175 years, where the original landowners were not considered to have any ownership over the land they called home, thousands of years before colonisation. The next big step in history for native Aboriginal people happened in 1966, called the Wave Hill Walk-Off. 3 decades after the stand, the Mabo case finally passed the Native Title Act 1993 through the High Courts. Terra nullius and the loss of land for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander clans affected all aspects of their society. The greatest impact is to their family life and supporting kinship structures, where some clans have been completely lost and others dislocated and no longer use their language. Prior to colonisation, Aboriginal families lived as large extended families. Now, according to the Australian Government research by Eleanor and Colin Burke in 1995, there are many one-parent families, broken families, mixed families and nuclear families. The kinship that was lost include children learning from their elders through the dream time. The dreaming, which was passed down, taught the younger generations about morals and values, responsibilities and obligations, which helped the group to survive and know what their role was. According to an article by the ABC News in 2014, who spoke to 31 Aboriginal elders, who stated that Indigenous youth suicide has been rising for the past 20 years. The suicide rate of Indigenous youth has been increasing due to the loss of culture. They are trying to mix traditional and modern ways, but end up in no man's land, as Bernard Tipalua of the Tiwi Islands said. This was in turn affected elders and their roles in kinship. They are asking for more support to pass on their knowledge to the youth to help prevent suicide to their younger generations. The value of teachers understanding the land rights event has never been greater. Through the loss of land to the fight over thousands of years, to where land recognition is given back. We as a country need to assist and support the issue and confusion that Indigenous youth of today have about themselves. They are at a complete loss and do not understand where they came from and who they are. By reflecting Buckskin's 2015 quote, "If in a school Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures are only celebrated during NAIDOC Week, on Mabo Day or National Reconciliation Week, by having students do dot paintings or having local community members teach dance or painting children's faces, what does this teach students and the community about contemporary life?" End quote. We as teachers need to be the ones supporting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders to assist in passing on their knowledge through the school system and the classroom. I believe that this should be done with them, either them coming into the classroom to teach alongside us, or we as a class going out to teach alongside them in their classroom. If we cannot teach students every day about their history and who they are, then of course they will be at a loss and misunderstanding. Just by recognising this greater issue, which has a domino effect from thousands of years ago, our teaching pedagogy immediately changes. I feel that this change in pedagogy will benefit both Indigenous and non-Indigenous students. As we are wanting to support Aboriginal and Torres Strait elders, I don't feel this area of teaching should be tested on after a unit is taught. However, maybe a journal of reflection from students to complete would help students to self-learn and retain better than a test. Indigenous students would then be able to use this journal as a tool to express their mix of traditional and modern ways of culture. This would also help elders to understand and help those younger generations of Indigenous students who are at a higher risk of suicide. By having the dream time outside classroom learning and consistent inside reflection about the original owners of the land, this will teach students and the community about our contemporary Australia. How we can now live with different cultures side by side while creating a mix of all cultures. This will allow Australian youth to know that it is okay to be a part of both or many cultural experiences. Although land rights have affected many other individuals in many ways, I feel that the depth I have spoken on today about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander youth suicide as a fracture influenced by the breakdown of traditional connection to the land has brought me so much more awareness of my own history and where I belong in the world, as well as where I belong as a future teacher. My pedagogy is continuously changing and growing. I am so excited to use all that I have learned. I understand that we cannot change our past history, but I feel as a future teacher we can educate better to ensure that future generations can feel a sense of belonging to create and pass on their own history. Thank you so much for listening today.